I get it, you cooch munchers. Wow, you're talking about more underage anime boys? What are you, a Shota-loving neck-bearded pedo or something? To start off, oh god, I really thought I trimmed this. Secondly, screw off, you 26-year-old virgin. I'm gray asexual, and yet I've been laid more times than the failed attempts in making your petri dish ass. But back to it, this video is something I've wanted to make since I've started this channel, really, and not just because, oh, Boku no Hero is such a mainstream anime. All I have to do is slap an image of Deku and Bakugo making out on the thumbnail and I'll get all the Fujos. No. If anything, I haven't really talked about anything mainstream here. Both Back Mongolian Chop Squad and Welcome to the BNHA are underappreciated anime in my opinion. The only real mainstream things I've made videos on here is the cringe sad excuse of avoiding Borderlands 3 review, and if you want to argue that Fooly Cooly is as mainstream as Boku no Hero Academia, then go off, bud. But even then, in this video, I'm not even going to be talking about the overwhelming theme of Boku no Hero focusing on Midoriya. If anything, I'm looking at what I have to say as the most underappreciated part of this story that I wish Horikoshi would give more consistent love to, rather than his masochistic fantasy of being 16 again and constantly breaking his hand. God, that's a weird fetish. No, today I'm going to be talking about a character I used to have an avatar for, looking like a Stan account. Tonight, I'm wolfing down why this purple-haired tired boy is more than a hypnosis villain fetish everyone thinks he is, and why I've connected to him since I've seen him in the manga and on screen. Tonight, everybody, join me as I wolf down Shinzo Hitoshi. Now, even though the first time we see this kid is when he declares all-out war on Class 1A and Bakugo, we don't really see how much he matters until his fight with Midoriya. And also, if you ask the common anime watcher who Shinzo is, they'll either 1, forget about him, or 2, call him a shallow, edgy, villainous kid who wants to become a hero who fights Deku in the tournament arc. You know, but he's so much more than just an edgy kid in the tournament arc. Though his main scene is when he fights Midoriya, I will admit that. Shinzo had already been showing off how oddly powerful and major of a character he was in scenes throughout this arc. Before this, like when you see him using a bunch of his classmates to carry him across the ice field that Todoroki left, and when you see everyone on his team aloof after the cavalry battle, where none of them move on because they feel as if they don't deserve it due to not remembering it. Well, that is, except for Shinzo, who sees this as a win, probably the only way he could win, and denounces them, due to their privilege because they were all already in the hero's course. Seeing this be the way it is, you could probably tell that Shinzo's been playing with some pretty cheap tricks up his sleeve, and in the fight against Midoriya, this is proven to be his tactic. He eggs people on, pissing them off on purpose to make them respond quick so he can gain control of them in a matter of seconds. He does this with Midoriya, and it almost works until Midoriya remembers he has 5-star rated plot armor that doesn't protect him from broken bones, and he snaps out of it. And we see that after this, Shinzo's very weak in hand-to-hand combat, struggling against Midoriya after this and obviously losing. He tries to say things to get a response before this though, except this time it only fuels Midoriya instead of weakening him. You really do start to see how desperate he is when he starts going into the emotionally manipulative tactic of making someone feel bad for you in a way to get a response, saying how lucky they are and they'd never understand you, how they'd always be seen as a better person based on what they were born with and will never have to work as hard as people like Shinzo and like me. Except Midoriya does get this. I mean, literally, if you don't know this, watch the anime. I'm literally not going over the first 2 episodes again. You can honestly find it anywhere. From his past, shown in this episode and chapter, you see he's been made to feel like he was never going to be a good person. Shinzo has a mind manipulation quirk, and he can cause so much torment with that and easily get away with it. You see his classmates as well egg him on to do that and shun him all at the same time for this, like they want him to be a villain. Coming back to the present after his loss, it changes though. People are cheering him on, saying how cool his ability is, saying he'd make a good hero, shocked he's not even in the hero course, but that's the reason why Shinzo's done any of this, to get into the hero course. It's not like he didn't try to go through the tests to make it into the hero course as well. Aizawa notes this while going over his files. Aizawa states that the hero course test is only made for powerful and physical quirks that can be used more offensively than defensively and supportively. If Shinzo had brainwashed anyone into killing the robots, they would have gotten a point, not him, and Shinzo probably knew this. You see, having a supportive quirk is not favored in the world of pro heroes. The way one uses their quirk is not as valued as how big and flashy it is, and basically, Shinzo got a micro penis, but that's why he did all of this. He knew what the best way to go about things was, even if it wasn't the most accepted, and he sure as hell took it. If he won the tournament, he could have ended up in one of the hero courses and proved everyone wrong. He doesn't give up after this defeat, though. If anything, he keeps fighting to prove everyone in his past wrong, to challenge and be the antithesis of how societally viewed quote-unquote evil quirks can actually be used for good. There's a lot of Shinzo's first viewing that people can just overlook that I just couldn't. Why does he only use slander and pessimism as a way to get people to respond? Why does he take the easiest route given to him? How the hell did Manita and knockoff Fantastic Four and Bizzo-Woman end up in Class 1A instead of this beautiful groggy boy? But most importantly, what made the most sense to me, and that I'll explain later in here, why does he keep on trying when all the odds are stacked against him and society only wants him to be the poison he was born with? You see, in this first arc, Shinzo hasn't really grown any. He is still fueled by his spite, anger, and this conflicting want to help people and do something good for others in the world around him, even if he's going to always be viewed as evil no matter what he does. He doesn't talk much unless he's attempting to use his quirk, and even then, he comes off as cold, antagonistic, and not really thinking of complimenting or catching his opponents off guard. Now, why is that? Surely compliments and benevolence can lead to a response as well. I think this spawns from Shinzo's past. He's angry and pessimistic about how people have put him down based on things he couldn't really control, and is plagued by the envy of people who are born with quote-unquote normal, flashy, heroic quirks. He can't trust people and is scared of getting close, knowing his power. There's a part of him that does believe his powers are a curse and that they truly are those of a villain, and he doesn't want to treat it as if it's not. He wants to help people and keep people safe, and if that means keeping his mouth shut, bitch is gonna do it. And that says a lot. Even though he's been through the ringer and feels as if his power is evil and cursed in some way, shape, or form, he wants to use it for good. You know, he wants to be a hero. He realizes, though, he won't become a hero easily, especially with how his quirk essentially just mass-produces simps. And yes, before you get angry, it is a dangerous and very good quirk, but look at the hero course entrance exam. How would they know that Shinzo manipulated someone? Would that even be fair? He's obviously done his research and knows that this won't work out, so he opts for the next best thing. Alternative routes into getting into the heroes course. Manipulating everyone in the tournament. That's the only way he'll win. Yes, it is the easiest way, sure, but is it really? He knows that this will probably just make more people hate him, but he has to prioritize his goal and his want to help people in the future over other students' personal vendettas against him for using his quirk against them now. And even if he does lose to Midoriya here, he still catches positive attention. I believe if he hadn't catched this attention, he wouldn't have continued pushing himself as far as he did. And I think all of what I just said helps to answer that last question I propped up. He keeps going against what society wants him to be, because deep in his heart there is a never-ending want to help people and want to prove everyone wrong. He may be seen as this evil person with this evil quirk. He may be seen as evil altogether in general, but he doesn't care. He will prove everyone wrong. He will help people, and he will show other people like him that they can be heroes too. You know, he will become a great hero and change society and prove everyone wrong. And he does get somewhere with that. With all the understanding Aizawa has for Shinzo, he mentors him and gets his physical capability up and teaches him that though being a bitch is nice, it won't always work. People won't always submit to everything you say, and you need to learn how to deal with that. Even if you don't want to, if it's for the greater good and it'll help more people than it'll hurt, and if it's your literal only option, you have to compromise and take it. We see this development and growth throughout the joint training exam, where Shinzo finally gets his chance. He shows that he can communicate, even though he starts off standoffish and dead set on his goal, and that he can compromise overall, as we see him use his voice modifier to sneakily switch people to his side by impersonating the voices of his opponents, matching their behaviors to sound and seem more believable. I think he finally realizes his quirk isn't evil here, and though he is still hesitant, he takes the chances needed of him to make his dream a reality. But I think his fight with Midoriya did help him mentally understand this as well here. Midoriya finally unlocks a new part of his power in this part of the arc, and loses control of it, showing true pain and desperately trying to make it stop. Shinzo finally sees, even if he doesn't know the whole story, that Midoriya's quirk is not a blessing either, and he as well is hurt by it, and as well has to work hard to keep it under wraps and under control, and with that, Shinzo is finally genuine with his feelings for Deku. No longer feeling alone, he wants to fight again, seeing that Midoriya truly understands. Midoriya then answers, full well knowing he'll be brainwashed and that he'll be able to disengage his quirk. Shinzo does lose this fight again against Midoriya, but he has grown and does appreciate Midoriya. With that, it is revealed that he'll be in the Heroes course next year. He's finally made it. He's finally a member on Twitch! Now, you may be wondering how my nihilistically optimistic ass can relate to someone so pessimistic. It's quite simple, really. When I saw Shinzo fight for the first time, his background, how the kanji in his name even stands for heart, mind, chastity, honesty, manipulation, for God's sakes, people! I realized, though society in this world would want him to become a villain, and many other people who were in Shinzo's shoes would go on to become that villain and call it fate, he calls it bullshit, as it truly is, and says that he will get better, and he will make something out of himself. Even if it's a pathetic attempt to do so, he will do it, victory or defeat. One of my earliest memories, moving on, is something that I can remember so clearly from when I was younger. It was when I was a stupid 5-year-old and I only wanted to be cool, but I was too scared to talk to kids. You see, it was only me and my mom when I was younger. She had to go to work on the other side of town early in the morning, so she put me into before and after school program. The first day after getting signed in, I just sort of sat in the cafeteria next to the sign-in book. I was very overwhelmed because I was very introverted as a kid, and I still sometimes am. And while other kids ran around and talked about their lives and who they were to other kids, I just couldn't. Other parents would end up coming by with kids I could only imagine were also starting their first days, and they looked at me, saw that I was the only kid not playing with others out of my own free will, and I remember at least 2 or 3 of the parents telling their kids before leaving, looking at me audibly enough for me to hear things around the lines of, "You see, that's the freak show. You don't go near him," or "Stay away from him." If it didn't make anything any better, I was a persuasive child, and I still am a persuasive person. When kids did give me a chance, we'd usually get into trouble due to our own childhood arrogance or just happenstance. And due to that, I'd usually be the one used as the scapegoat and be blamed for everything, and then shortly after, stop being talked to by the person altogether. The only time kids would talk to me is when it came to beating me up, to remind me who I was, to humiliate me and tell me what my place was, and just to poison me. After elementary school, and all of this, I had sort of just become done. I was pessimistic and jaded. I still somewhat am. I no longer let people treat me like shit, and I started fights scaring people off. I didn't talk to many people unless I felt the need to or saw what I could get out of it. Yeah, I was called weird, scary, and a freak show, but I no longer cared, and I still don't. A good thing that came out of this. I even manipulated the situation to get a kid suspended for a couple days. Though my intentions were good, I do know, looking back at that it was wrong of me overall to do it, because deep in me, I do want to help people. And that's another thing. With this all being said, overwhelmingly, even though I was a standoffish, manipulative, cold kid, I still found myself shaking because of that want to help people that I couldn't fully explain. The reason I got the kid suspended was because he was harassing a friend of mine who was the target of the school for bullying. And the only reason why I had kids sign a card for my mom with cancer was that she could feel better, even if I knew she was going to throw all the cards away. You see, I've always wanted to, in some way, benefit people, but when you're treated like a monster all of your life, it becomes hard to do that. You don't even want to try half the time, but you keep on doing it for reasons you can't even explain. I understand the feeling of wanting to challenge and call a quote-unquote fate based on something you were born into and with wrong. I had never seen a character who got that detailed aspect of my life until I saw Shinzo on the screen. How he doesn't talk to people due to his own views and insecurities of himself. How even though he's been treated like a monster and he feels as if his quirk has just been more of a disadvantage for him all of his life, he and I still want to use the things we were born with that we see as disadvantages for good. Use the humiliation in what you've been told you are all of your life and that you feel is cursed for good. I didn't stop resenting and actually gaining control of this part of my personality until the end of high school, and even then, I still slip up here to there, and I am ready to apologize at a moment's notice. Now, I'm not saying manipulating people is good, but I'm not stating that as a blanket statement either. It mostly depends on the situation at hand. I only use this part of my personality when making these videos, talking people down from something they're about to regret, and helping friends get back up on their feet and push on. And even then, I'll say, when I do it, I never use lies as a way or solution for anything. I'm brutally honest, but I am considerate and acknowledging of the fact that there is always a chance to grow and get better from your situation. I never use it for malintent or to get things selfishly. At least not anymore. At least I hope I'm not viewed as using it for that anymore. Because in the end of the day, all I care about is making people laugh and helping people no longer be fully scared of the world or themselves. Something that I think Shinzo's character can understand the sentiments of. Now, getting away from that sappy, ranty shit, I guess other than bringing to light the fact that hand fetish Horikoshi doesn't give enough spotlight to poignant and interesting characters he already has in exchange of focusing on entirely new characters who come out of nowhere, I hope you all take note out of this, that no matter where you're from or who you've been told that you are, that you are you. And no matter what your flaws are or is and how many you have, you can gain some form of control over it even if they'll never truly go away, and you don't have to become what everyone wants and expects you to be. But most importantly, if you have ever been scarred, abused, traumatized, you can always use it for good. You aren't and don't have to be the poison that made you and people tell you you are and will be. And please, make note, you can't help what your heart longs for.
I hope that it will help you to do a...
God, I fucking hate this goddamn show. Fucking hell. Okay, what did I miss? Okay. Broken Night Hero Season 5. I don't really watch it, but sure, why not?
Woo! Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for. That's what it's all about. Woo!
I hope that it will help you to do a better job.
Hey, if you made it to the end of the video, again, thanks. I will say this video actually took me longer to get out than I expected. I had my last upload on October 21st, so I was planning on getting this out like a month after that, but, well, the time that I'm recording this is like November 29th, so take this as you will. So, overall, I know this was probably like a weirdly sappy, like not very comedic video. Don't expect a comedic video for the next video either, but I will get back on my crackhead shit as soon as I can. I just really want to make a video about Shinzo Otoshi from Boku no Hero Academia for like a while now. So with that being said, thank you everyone who made it to the end of the video. If you want to like and share, do it. If you want to report and block me, do it, because I don't give a shit. And most importantly, good night, good day, wherever you are, and overall, good luck.